Standard costing is a tried and true method for managing and controlling costs in a manufacturing environment. By establishing predetermined benchmarks for the cost of materials, labor, and overhead, standard costing allows companies to measure performance, identify variances, and make informed decisions about pricing and production. However, one of the biggest challenges in implementing a standard costing system is dealing with fluctuations in raw material prices. In industries where the cost of key inputs can vary significantly over time due to market forces, setting accurate and reliable cost standards can be a daunting task. Whether it's the price of steel for an auto manufacturer, the cost of lumber for a furniture maker, or the price of cocoa beans for a chocolate producer, changes in raw material costs can have a major impact on a company's bottom line. If these changes are not properly accounted for in the standard costing system, it can lead to large variances, inaccurate product pricing, and suboptimal decision making. In this article, we'll explore the challenges of setting cost standards in industries with variable input costs and provide some tips for regularly updating standards to reflect market changes. By understanding how fluctuating raw material prices can affect your standard costing system, you can take proactive steps to maintain accuracy and make better informed decisions about your business. The challenges of variable input costs. Setting accurate cost standards is essential for the effectiveness of a standard costing system. If the standards are too high, it can lead to overpricing of products and lost sales. If the standards are too low, it can result in underpricing and reduced profits. Finding the right balance is key to optimizing performance and profitability. In industries with stable raw material prices, setting cost standards is relatively straightforward. Historical data can be used to establish reliable benchmarks, and variances can be easily identified and analyzed. However, in industries where raw material prices are subject to frequent or significant fluctuations, setting standards becomes much more challenging. Here are some of the key issues that companies face when dealing with variable input costs. Difficulty predicting future prices. When raw material prices are constantly changing, it can be difficult to predict what they will be in the future. This makes it challenging to set accurate cost standards, as the actual costs may end up being significantly different from what was anticipated. Lag time in updating standards. Even if a company is able to predict future raw material prices with some accuracy, there is often a lag time between when prices change and when cost standards can be updated. This can lead to temporary variances that can distort financial reporting and decision making. Complexity of cost structures. In some industries, the cost structure for raw materials can be quite complex, with multiple variables influencing the final price. For example, the cost of a particular metal may depend on factors such as global supply and demand, geopolitical events, and exchange rates. This complexity can make it difficult to establish accurate cost standards and track variances effectively. Impact on pricing and profitability. If cost standards are not regularly updated to reflect changes in raw material prices, it can have a significant impact on product pricing and profitability. If material costs increase but selling prices remain the same, profit margins will erode. Conversely, if material costs decrease but selling prices are not adjusted downward, the company may lose market share to competitors. Effect on budgeting and planning. Fluctuating raw material prices can also make it difficult to plan and budget effectively. If costs are constantly changing, it can be challenging to forecast future financial performance and make informed decisions about investments, staffing, and other key business issues. Given these challenges, it's clear that companies and industries with variable input costs need to take a proactive and disciplined approach to standard costing. By regularly monitoring market prices, updating cost standards as needed, and using variance analysis to identify opportunities for improvement, these companies can maintain accuracy and make better informed decisions in the face of uncertainty. Best practices for managing fluctuating raw material prices. So what can companies do to effectively manage the impact of fluctuating raw material prices on their standard costing systems? Here are some best practices to consider. Regularly monitor market prices. The first step in managing variable input costs is to stay on top of market trends and pricing. This means regularly tracking the prices of key raw materials, as well as monitoring supply and demand conditions, geopolitical events, and other factors that can influence costs. Many companies use specialized software or subscription services to access real-time pricing data and market intelligence. Use flexible budgeting and forecasting rather than relying on fixed budgets and forecasts based on static cost standards. Companies with variable input costs need to use more flexible planning tools. This may involve using rolling forecasts that are updated regularly based on actual costs and market conditions, as well as scenario planning to model the impact of different price scenarios on financial performance. Implement price adjustment mechanisms. in some cases, companies may be able to pass on changes in raw material costs to customers through price adjustments. This can help mitigate the impact of cost fluctuations on profitability, but it requires careful communication and negotiation with customers. Some companies use price escalation clauses, or surcharges tied to specific cost indices to automatically adjust prices based on market conditions. Use hedging strategies. Another way to manage the risk of fluctuating raw material prices is through hedging. This involves using financial instruments such as futures contracts or options to lock in prices for future purchases. While hedging can provide some protection against price volatility, it also introduces additional complexity and risk that needs to be carefully managed. Collaborate with suppliers. Building strong relationships with suppliers can also help companies manage variable input costs more effectively. By collaborating with suppliers to forecast demand, negotiate long-term contracts, and identify opportunities for cost saving, companies can reduce the impact of price fluctuations and ensure a more stable supply of raw materials. Continuously improve operational efficiency. Ultimately, the best way to manage the impact of fluctuating raw material prices is to continuously improve operational efficiency and reduce waste. By streamlining processes, optimizing inventory levels, and finding ways to use materials more efficiently, companies can minimize the impact of cost fluctuations and maintain profitability even in challenging market conditions. Regularly update cost standards. Finally, it's essential to regularly update cost standards to reflect changes in raw material prices and other cost drivers. This may involve adjusting standards on a monthly, quarterly, or annual basis depending on the volatility of the market and the company's specific needs. By keeping standards up to date, companies can ensure that variances are accurately identified and analyzed, and that decision making is based on the most current and reliable cost data. Managing fluctuating raw material prices. Conclusion. Fluctuating raw material prices can pose significant challenges for companies that rely on standard costing to manage and control their manufacturing costs. When the cost of key inputs is constantly changing, setting accurate and reliable cost standards can be a daunting task, and variances can quickly erode profitability and competitiveness. However, by understanding the challenges of variable input costs and implementing best practices for managing them, companies can mitigate the impact of price fluctuations and make better informed decisions. This requires a proactive and disciplined approach that involves regular monitoring of market prices, flexible budgeting and forecasting, collaboration with suppliers, continuous improvement of operational efficiency, and regular updates to cost standards. Of course, implementing these best practices is not always easy, and it requires a significant investment of time, resources, and expertise. Companies need to have the right systems and processes in place to track and analyze cost data, as well as the right talent and culture to drive continuous improvement and adapt to changing market conditions. But for companies that are willing to make this investment, the benefits can be substantial. By maintaining accurate and reliable cost standards in the face of market volatility, these companies can optimize their pricing and production decision, reduce waste and inefficiency, and ultimately improve their bottom line. Moreover, by developing the capabilities to effectively manage variable input costs, companies can gain a significant competitive advantage in their industries. They can respond more quickly and effectively to changing market conditions, capitalize on opportunities for cost savings and efficiency gains, and build stronger and more resilient supply chains. In today's fast-paced and constantly changing business environment, the ability to manage fluctuating raw material prices is no longer a luxury, it's a necessity. Companies that fail to develop this capability risk falling behind their competitors and losing market share and profitability over time. So if your company relies on standard costing and operates in an industry with variable input costs, now is the time to take action. By assessing your current capabilities, identifying areas for improvement, and implementing best practices for managing fluctuating raw material prices, you can position your company for success in the face of market uncertainty and volatility. It won't be easy, and it will require ongoing effort and attention. But the rewards, in terms of improved accuracy, better decision making, and increased profitability, are well worth the investment. With the right approach and a commitment to continuous improvement, you can turn the challenge of fluctuating raw material prices into an opportunity for competitive advantage and long-term success.